What's up everybody, it's HomiesOfMars back in today with another video in the So Your series. And before I start this video, for all of you that want to make a new suggestion for the So Your series, go ahead and put it down in the comments section, whatever you want it to be. It could be So You're dealing with something or anything at all, and I'll make a video over it if I find it interesting enough or if it gets enough likes. Now, I want to make it clear, the comment that makes the most likes doesn't necessarily mean the one I'm going to pick, but it'll help. And also, the one that I like the most is going to be one that I usually go for. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and jump into it. Today's topic is going to be So You're Going to College. So, I'm going to break this video down into about 4, maybe 5 parts, probably 4. I have 4 parts written down. I may add a 5th one if I feel like it. So, the first part of this video is going to be make sure college is for you. Now, I'm probably assuming you're going to be going to college regardless if you're asking this question, but make sure college is for you. Legitimately make sure it's for you, because you don't want to go to college and get a degree that you're not going to use, okay? You want to make sure this degree is going to be useful to you and for your career if you're going to have one. Maybe you're going to become an entrepreneur, whatever. Make sure it's useful for your scenario, because you don't want to put money down the drain, right? You don't want to waste money into something that you're not going to use. For example, look, I know there's a lot of bad rap about, art degrees and stuff, but look, if you're going to get an art degree, get an art degree. Just make sure you don't spend too much money on it, okay? If it's going to be useful to you in the future, then definitely get it. And that's something for you to decide and to research yourself. But don't get into so much debt that you don't use the degree. I've seen so many people like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go to college, and in reality, they probably shouldn't have, and it may not have helped them at all, and actually probably hindered them more than it would have helped them. And there's plenty of people that probably should have gone to college that didn't. It's a mixed bag. There's different. Everybody has a different path in life, and it's something that you really should decide. At least, okay, look, if you're not really sure and you still you're kind of leaning towards you want to go to college, this will go into the next part of the video, which the second part is community college or like a bigger university. So here's the thing, you're gonna have a couple choices of colleges. There's plenty of them, and they're all out to, make sure you pay them because they want your money, right? But some colleges, like community colleges, are a lot cheaper. Now, in my personal scenario, I went to a community college, and I'm going right now still. I'm actually got my associates, and now I'm gonna go to get my bachelor's. I got my associates in computer information technology, like a networking major, and then I'm gonna get my bachelor's pretty much. I'm not sure what I'm gonna get my bachelor's in. It's gonna be probably networking, maybe some IT type thing, but I'm gonna do it, right? So here's the thing. I went to community college and I don't regret it. Now, look, the nice thing about big universities, all right, so if you're going to a big university, you're most likely going to live on campus. Maybe you live nearby with your parents' house. Living on campus or living with your parents are 2 entirely different college experiences usually. Because here's the thing, when you live with your parents, depends on who your parents are. Now, some parents don't usually are as strict as others, of course. My parents were fairly strict, so my parents really didn't want me to do too many things. They didn't want me to get too much into the partying scene, so I would, distract myself from getting my degree, which actually really helped out because I can definitely be susceptible to that. But it helped me out so much because without any of the partying and without any of the distractions I had in college, I was able to get, an associate's degree with a really high GPA. So, if you can still party. Look, you can still get a high GPA and party, right? I'm not saying that isn't possible, but some people are more negatively affected by the the whole partying thing than others, or the whole freedom thing. Look, so the whole thing about community college and big universities, all right, community college is always going to be cheaper. Universities are typically always going to be more expensive. In my scenario, community college is like really cheap. It was like $2,000 a semester, and I was taking like 5 classes. But I didn't have to pay any of that because I had a full ride to it. And getting a full ride or getting scholarships that equal up to $2,000 a semester is actually not as hard as you think. And in fact, some states it's even easier than others. So the whole thing about minimizing your debt, I will talk about that later in the video. But again, community college is definitely something you guys should think about if you don't have like a full ride to a big college. And I know a lot of you probably want that college experience. Now here's the thing, if you had really strict parents growing up And once you get that taste of freedom, I've seen people go crazy when they get freedom from their parents. Like they go literally like insane, like crazy. Like their grades are just, maybe their grades might be fine, but like they'll do crazy stuff in college, like doing lines of coke, or like getting into like really like bad drugs or hard drugs, maybe becoming addicts and just like sex addicts or something like that. Like I've seen people go off the deep end. I've also seen people manage it well and not have any issues at all. And it's really like, it's not something that you may even know you have in you until you get put in that scenario. And the safe way out is just, you know, going to a community college, maybe staying with your parents for a year or two, and then trying out if you really want to try out the college experience, so they say. But it's not something you need to have in life. It's not something that's necessary. And even though I still live with my parents, I still get to hang out with my friends, and I have a really good time with them, and it's not like my life is boring. I mean, I chill with my girlfriend on a regular basis and all this kind of things. It's not like I'm missing out on that much stuff, right? Even though I'm not living away from my parents. And for a little while, I pondered living away from my parents, or I wanted to move away, but I started to realize how much cheaper it is if your parents are willing to keep you at their house. It's so much money is saved if you stay with your parents. And of course, I know some people, they really want to get away, like maybe they have a really bad parent or home situation, which is understandable. But either way, guys, choosing between the two is a choice we'll need to make. Maybe your parents have already got it set up for you, and they're telling you, you should do this, go to this college, which that could be the scenario. You might already have your decision made up for you. But either way, I'm going to move on to the next part of the video, part number 3, which is doing online classes or doing face-to-face classes. So with me, my first semester I didn't go all online, probably because I wanted to try to see how it was. Now, some colleges don't even really offer online. It depends on the college you go to. Typically, community colleges are a lot more apt to do so. And in my scenario, my first semester of college was 2 online classes and then 3 like physical face-to-face classes. And with those 2 online classes, it was a small amount of online classes for where I can manage it and like understand how online classes work, because you have to really make sure you're on top of your stuff. Like, make sure you're on top of your work, make sure you're self-driven to do the work, because nobody's going to be telling you to do it unless you get an angry email from your teacher, which is probably not going to happen. If you don't do your work, your teacher is going to be like, you know, it's your choice, right? Sometimes teachers are a lot nicer than other teachers, but look, you gotta be careful, okay? Because you gotta make sure you do your work. If you miss something, you might be out of luck. So the first thing I do before I select a class, I'm going to go to ratemyprofessor.com. And ratemyprofessor.com has served me well for my past few years of college. And usually there's a lot more reviews on teachers that teach like gen ed classes. For some reason in my college, the IT teachers were a lot less reviewed. But gen ed classes are typically going to be the ones where you have the most choice of professors for, and getting a good professor is going to mean the world to you, because that means typically you could figure out if it's going to be easier to get a higher grade in their class, or maybe their work's going to be easier, or maybe they're just a better teacher in general, to where maybe it's hard work, but you're still going to get a good grade in the end because they're just so well teaching it. So ratemyprofessor.com is going to be very useful regardless of doing online or face-to-face classes. Make sure you use that. Like, literally, you need to use that. This is a need, and it pretty much has every single college out there, and really even some of the most unknown colleges will have some sort of ratings on that. Something I definitely recommend, go to ratemyprofessor.com, search your college, and you can search up different teachers based on the thing that they teach. So either way, online classes are going to have their own type of thing to them. So online classes in my scenario, you know, I had to log on. I would check it every single day, even if I didn't have work, check it every single day just to make sure you're not due something. I have a little notepad that I write down all of my due date stuff on. So at the beginning of like every week, I would set out my work for the week, and I would say, on this day I'm going to do this, on this day I'm going to do this, because eventually I went from 2 online classes in the first semester to where my next semester was pretty much all online. And so the nice thing is I saved gas. I didn't have to drive to the school, and I could literally do school in my room in my pajamas, you know. And online college it's amazing. It's not for everybody, but for me it was great. And if you're trying to figure out if it's for you or not, if your college offers online classes, try a class or two your first semester to see how you like it. You may not love it at first, but eventually it's so great. It's amazing, and it's something I recommend. I actually don't even like going to face-to-face classes as much, but here's the thing though. Face-to-face classes, seeing the professor, you're going to have a lot more engagement, and so it's sometimes easier to learn things in those classes, and it's usually you might actually get more out of the face-to-face class, but sometimes it's so nice to use the online class if you're able to kind of self-teach yourself to a certain degree, because most of that class you're going to have it either be reading out of a book or you're going to have to be watching like a video or something, or a lecture. But again, something you should try and keep in mind. But if you live on campus, you probably just want to go to the face-to-face classes anyway in that scenario. Anyways, the last part of this video, which I might add a fifth part, this is the fourth part of the video. Go ahead and make sure you manage your debt. Okay, manage your debt. Very important to do. And you don't want to rack up a lot of debt in the first 4 years of college, okay? And it's going to be a lot harder to not rack up debt if you're going for, going to med school or becoming a lawyer or something. That's understandable. If you're going to be making, $100,000 to $200,000 when you get out of school or something like that, then yeah, it's probably okay to have $100,000 to $200,000 in debt, because you can pay it off in like a year or two, right? So managing your debt can be, it can start literally while you're in high school. And the way you lower your debt is just by getting as many scholarships as possible. Just signing up or looking for different scholarships. Sometimes they require you to do a little essay or a questionnaire or something like that. Most of them are essays. Sometimes don't even require that. Sometimes you just have to have certain requirements and they'll just give it to you. Those are the easy ones. Make sure you, at the bare minimum, get those. And let's say you did good on your SAT or your ACTs, whatever your state's using. If you do good, see, my state, I have to have an ACT and I have to have a certain score, and if I have a really good score, you can get full rides to certain colleges. It's pretty crazy how much my state relied on the ACT. I'm sure some places are like the SAT as well. Your GPA is important in high school, but for some reason in my state, in Tennessee, it was like, who cares what your GPA is? We just want to make sure your ACT score was really good. And sometimes some colleges would actually say you either have a good GPA or a good ACT, and sometimes they even preferred having a better ACT score than anything else. It's interesting because I've heard some stories where people would have like low GPAs in high school because they might be smart but they just didn't do their work. They had a really high ACT score and then they just flunk out of college in like a month or a year or something like that, and it's weird. But look, managing your debt, this video isn't going to be super detailed about managing debt, but I would suggest doing research on how to lower your debt by going to college, because there's plenty of resources out there, and it's just a simple Google search away. Anyways, I guess my closing statement is college is a good time if you're going to go to it. Enjoy it, because it's very just as enjoyable as high school was for me. In fact, I think college is a little bit more enjoyable than high school, because then you're starting to do a degree and you're learning things where you really, really want to learn. Of course, there's going to be some gen ed classes that you have to take in college, but for the most part, when you're getting to your junior and senior year of college, you're starting to do the things you really enjoy, and these are all things for your major that you might end up doing for the rest of your life. But either way, guys, I hope you have a good rest of your day. Go ahead and post in the comments the next So Your video, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.